Welcome back to the capital city. Welcome to New Delhi. We are here in the studios of Doordarshan. We hope you enjoyed that wonderful, interesting story that we had from Mumbai. It's been a day that has been very, very exciting, very interesting. We had a lot of brainstorming, a lot of ideas coming up, and still we are not tired. This studio is buzzing with excitement. We have another set of eminent personalities, and it's my absolute pleasure to be joined by my co-anchor, the Florence Griffith Joyner of India, the sprint queen, Ashwini Nachappa. Ashwini, what a pleasure.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Let's introduce our distinguished guests. We have, coming to the end of the conclave, a very important segment. We're talking about Prime Minister's vision, and we have two people from here, Mr. Om Pathak, who is part of the Prime Minister's task force. We have Baldev Singh, who's also part of Prime Minister's task force, but more interestingly, he has churned out a number of Indian women hockey players from very small town. We'll be talking about that. We also have head of Tata Steel Sports Division, Mr. Mukul Chowdhury. Welcome to the show. And we also have from the educationist, Dr. Vijay Datta, Principal Modern School. So welcome on board, and we shall start the brainstorming session for Vision 2020 and 2024.
Absolutely. Pathak sir, I'll start with you. Of course, Rio was a disappointment. After the high of London, 6 we thought would go up at least by 4 or even 6, but it reduced by 4, which was actually a disappointment. And then came the task force, PM's task force, almost immediately after that. 2020, 24, 28. What can we expect realistically?
I've been around 24 states already, where I have met every single stakeholder in that particular state on their home ground. And my take is that India does not lack talent. There's plenty of it strewn around. It's just a question of creating a very good and a sound model of governance. It's very important to create a kind of a unified structure instead of people working in silos, one not knowing what the other is doing. We need to create an interconnected environment. We need to create a larger pool. So we have two major things that we could be looking at. One is, of course, building a pipeline of talented athletes who will eventually become elite athletes, and two, a very specialized and a very focused program for the elite athletes. Now these two need very different and two very separate kind of treatments. And I am of the view, having been around, that India is probably sitting on a gold mine. We could really take medals for the asking only if we do things the right way. And given the Prime Minister's vision and the vision that's been articulated by other leading sportspersons such as you also, Ashwini ji, India can, we have 3 years to go before 2020, and I do think that we can create conditions wherein we can really outstrip any imagination of models.
Ashwini,
I won't put a number to it though.
You'll be able to throw some light on this, wherein we've had policies, we have had initiatives, but there seem to be some bottlenecks. If you could actually throw some light on that.
Well, there has been bottlenecks in every step. It's not just about sports, and I've always said there is more politics in sports than in politics, because that's the environment we've all come up through. But with the current Prime Minister, who's absolutely a visionary, because it's the first time that, if you see even in the Rio Games, the treatment that was met with every sports star, whether they win medal or not, the kind of care that was taken, the kind of investment that was given, was never seen before.
Absolutely.
So that's a good step. But do we have a structure in place to really raise the bar? Because if you talk about 2008, from Beijing to London, we were 50th rank in Beijing. Then we invested more, we became 55th in London. We invested even more and became 67th at Rio. So is the task force actually thinking of doing a drastic change with a clean slate so that we start new for a new India? Is that in the pipeline?
That precisely is the point. You see, the Prime Minister has been talking of not reforms, but a total transformation.
Absolutely.
Total transformation. And as you rightly pointed out, it's a question of, and it is a function of governance. I mean, not very long ago, in 2010, when we had the Commonwealth Games, the 2006 Commonwealth Games gave us about 51 medals. Same people, more or less the same facilities, and we got 101 gold medals, 101 medals in the 2010 Commonwealth. That means everything else was there. It was just a question of making it happen.
Absolutely.
So that is the point that we are addressing now.
I'd like to come to the,
Yeah,
you want to add
sure,
something?
please go on.
We often talk about these things. Of course, every other day you hear that, unfortunately, when you what we are seeing is you take a step forward, you take 2 or 3 back. That happens to be, and as she said, politics is one thing that has been, plaguing this for quite some time. But to stretch this point, sometimes what we see is, as you said, is a gold mine that we have. We often don't dream enough, or there is a self-belief issue that we often see. As a sports aficionado, I remember 88, 92, we went medalless. We thought, I was thinking, could we ever win a medal? But then that was changing with Beijing and London. But the self-belief factor, what can we do to overcome this issue?
Well, at the school level, being a school principal, I'll talk about the school level, the basics. I think we need to do a lot more. And we need to believe in sports ourselves a lot more, as principals, as teachers, everyone, the parents, everyone associated with the schools. I would like to briefly quote, the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playfields of Eton and Harrow. So how much it's ascribed, how much you subscribe to the sports, how much is the importance you must relate to it is well defined in that. That it is not just the sport that you're playing, it prepares you for the life, the kind of personality that you build in. There are 2 levels I would like to briefly talk about. One is the sports being intrinsically good in themselves.
Yeah.
When you are playing a sport and playing it well, playing it fair on a level playing field, you learn a lot, and it stays with you through the life. It gets into your instincts. How you would react, might be you become a senior officer, need not essentially become a sportsman. That's another thing which I would talk about a little later. If you don't get into sports, let's say you get into any field, get into administration, and you have been a sportsman, I'm sure you will always take correct decisions. Before thinking between the right and the wrong, you would always choose right, because that's the sporting spirit.
But sir, just to interject you on
Yes.
that, we have 3 educationists over here. We have Mr. Om Pathak also from the Delhi Public. I also have started running a school. And the challenge is to actually bring about a sporting culture with our faculty.
Right.
Because what's happening is the physical education teachers
That's what
are
I
there
said.
to discipline children and not to promote sport.
That's what I said.
Unless physical education sport is part of our curriculum and not as an extracurricular activity, I hope the task force takes these into account, where the physical education teachers are in par with the physics teacher or a math teacher.
Absolutely, that's what I said.
You
That
will
we need
still,
to.
if that doesn't happen, we still look down upon our physical education teachers to mind them.
We need to give it that
So
pride
what
of
would you
place.
suggest? We have 2 people from the PMO's task force. What do you think at the base level? Because that's where our pyramid is the largest.
Right.
How do we tap that?
First of all, I think they should be more communicative. We should know more what the government is doing. Of course, the government is doing a lot, but the school level doesn't know. There is a little disconnect between the two.
There's no synergy between the HRD and the sports ministry.
You know, one of the things that I started off, as you know, the School Sports Promotion Foundation, and for nearly 3 years that I've been pushing it, one of the things that I realized that the sports and academics are not mutually exclusive, as we now seem to think. They are inherently mutually inclusive. It is just that we treat them differently. You know, there's so much that you learn on the ground, in the field of the football or cricket or hockey or athletics, whatever game you play. There is so much of learning in it. Unfortunately, we treat them separately. You know, there are issues around employability.
Yep.
If you take up sports, where is the social and the financial safety net? It doesn't exist.
There's a huge amount of insecurity there.
Huge amount of insecurity, and also, as you see, in any other competition, be it the IAS, be it the IIT, if you find 5 lakh people take the exam, there are about 20,000 who make it.
Yeah.
One IIT or the other.
Yeah.
But what happened in sports? There's a huge base and there's only one medal at the top. Look at the risk of failure.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. And what are the rewards? Nothing.
It's one thing.
So that
You know,
we need to
I think
strike a balance.
Sir,
there.
there's
talked
something
about
that
two
we need
things.
to understand is when we're talking about a nation as large as ours, the medals is only a byproduct of a system.
Absolutely.
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 That's exactly what I was going
And
to
we
say.
must not prepare anything thinking of X number of medals.
That's what I said. I mean, it's intrinsically good. It's medals is the next level.
It's the next
Those
step.
who excel can think of medals and they can be supported accordingly. But in the sports curriculum, in the school curriculum, it should be holistic education that should be there. That is, along with the academics, sports should go hand in hand. They should not be treated as something separate, something different. Those who are sportsmen don't study, or those who study don't play sports. They go hand in hand. That's what holistic education.
I'd like
Ashwini,
to
linking
ask-
that to a first point that we spoke about. I mean, it's one thing to say that we need sports being treated equally with academics and being a part of that, and a physical educational teacher is as good as a physics or a maths teacher. But for a country with 1.3 billion and kind of culture that we are so used to, we need a drastic cultural change, isn't it? And how easy is it to bring that about, which is probably the challenge is. I might buy into it, she might, but selling it to the nooks and corner of India seems to be the challenge.
See, the support of families is critical. If the family doesn't want you to play, you sure, no matter how much of brilliance you have, you cannot play.
And thereby,
And thereby you lose a sports person, you lose an athlete. So family support is very important, and the family will support the kid to play only if the family sees a viable career option there. Now, it's not just about one Olympic medal. There are Asian Games, there's Commonwealth. Now, everyone will not win either the Olympic or the Commonwealth or the Asian or the World Championship. Now, what happens to those who stop short of the state of the national level? Why would there not be a possibility to connect with a career related to sports? Now, unless we do that, too many people will not play the sport, and therefore your medal prospects will be weakened.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't pluck the medals in the
no,
sky.
so
without-
therefore, should we concentrate on the girl child, because Baldev Singh has contributed enormously. His contribution in bringing from a small town, Shabad in Haryana, he has produced almost 46 international players,
more than
women
46.
more than 46, 7 have captained the Indian team, yet we need to know the struggles
Absolutely.
of the girl child in that small town.
And to add to it, 65 in total, the number of internationals he has
Internationals,
produced.
he has played.
और आप सिलेक्शन के बारे में थोड़ा आप जानकारी देंगे? सिलेक्शन के बारे में भी बहुत कंप्लेंट्स आते हैं, कभी-कभी प्रॉब्लम्स है इसके साथ, तो इसके बारे में आपको क्या बोलना?
देखिए, जो हमारी ओलंपिक टास्क फोर्स जो बनाई है, इसमें ये भी एक हमने इनके साथ, पाठक जी के साथ हमने 24 स्टेट जो मैंने इनके साथ ही था, और जो स्टेट में जितने भी हमें उनकी जो कंप्लेंट्स आई हैं, जो उनके सामने प्रॉब्लम्स आई हैं, उनमें भी ये सिलेक्शन एक सही नहीं हो रहा, जहाँ स्टेट से लेकर ऊपर तक जो हमारी नेशनल टीम बनती हैं, तो उसमें भी हमने ये एक उसको कैसे सॉल्व करना है।
आपने बोला सही नहीं हो रहा है, आप ये बता सकते हैं क्या सही नहीं हो रहा है? Where is the problem? Where exactly is the problem?
अभी मैं एक छोटा सा एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ। अभी नेशनल्स हमारी हुई हैं, सब जूनियर नेशनल्स, जूनियर नेशनल्स और सीनियर नेशनल्स गर्ल्स की, उसमें सिर्फ एक ही सिलेक्टर आया, मिस्टर गोविंदा जी थे वहाँ पर, जबकि ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए। ये एक कम से कम वहाँ पर सिलेक्टर भी 3-4, उनकी राय जो अलग अलग हो सकती है, उसमें 3 या 4 सिलेक्टर वो होने ही चाहिए। तो एक ही सिलेक्टर आया और वो आप ही जो बना के वो वापस चले
So
गए।
this is the problem where
तो
the men get the most
मैं एक
important.
छोटा सा बताता हूँ कि 3 जो स्टेट हैं उसमें मेरे तकरीबन हमारे जो सेंटर के वहाँ पर 3 की वो फाइनल खेले, तो उसमें जो कुछ निकाले तो गए हैं प्लेयर, लेकिन लिया कुछ नहीं गया। जो तीनों जो टीम है वो फाइनल खेली हैं टीम्स। तो ये एक सिलेक्शन जो है इसका वो एक क्राइटेरिया जो हमने टास्क फोर्स के जो लिखा है उसमें, तो उसमें कोई प्रेसिडेंट, या सेक्रेटरी एसोसिएशन या फेडरेशन का कोई नहीं होना चाहिए। उसमें हमारे द्रोणाचार्य अवार्डी, उसमें एक इंटरनेशनल प्लेयर्स और अर्जुन अवार्डी, मिनिमम वो प्लेयर्स वहाँ पर आना चाहिए और एक टीम बननी चाहिए।
हाँ।
एक या दो के टीम जो गेम होती है वो एक या दो सिलेक्टर नहीं होने चाहिए वहाँ पर ज़्यादा।
Ashwini,
तो ऐसे सारी
I smell the first break, the first celebration that we have to have. But before that, I would love to bring Mukul Chowdhury in for a minute. If you could just tell us about the latest from the Tata Steel Sports Centre.
Tata Steel has been involved in sports, rather encouraging sports for over 100 years. I started right from our founders, and Mr. Dorabji Tata was the first one to sponsor us Olympic team in 1920, and so it's been almost 100 years. And cut to today, up till date, that is 2017, one has created over 11 Padma Shris, you have 40 40 Arjuna awardees, and many more. You have 36 Olympians which have been created. Tatas have been regularly involved and been encouraging sports. As we speak today, we have two academies which work in excellence area, which is archery and football. When we talk about archery in recent Olympics, out of the 4 who qualified, 3 were products of Tata Archery Academy.
Great.
As far as Tata Football Academy is concerned, out of the 213 which have passed out in last 30 years, 135 have played for the country and 19 captains.
19 captains.
19
That's
captains
great.
for the country. So, as far as statistics goes, we have been doing fairly well in the area of excellence.
Why do you hesitate? Get into everything. Get into boxing.
Yeah,
get
as
into
we speak, as we speak, we are it's another month, and we will have an hockey academy coming in, and as we speak, we are having boxing on cards. We have middle distance athletics on cards, and apart from investing in sports alone, there's an entire machinery which works around it. So it's an athlete, a coach, and a performance enhancements that we need. That is, the support staff that would go along with it. So we are also launching a high performance center, which will actually help athletes to perform better and excel.
That's fabulous. Ashwini, we have to take a break here for a small video. It's really warming up. It's really getting right there. But we'll continue the discussion after a small video. Of course, we talk about Khelo India. We have been talking about it right from the start of the program. The funding of the program, of course, any sport initiative funding is absolutely important. The video is all about the funding given for Khelo India. Let's watch it. Welcome back. We are in conversation with 4 gentlemen who have seen it all and who are working very hard to promote Indian sport. Another thing that we're going to talk about is how you bring all the stakeholders together. It's an open question. Anyone feels you have an answer can bounce onto it. Stakeholders, bringing them together often is an issue in a country like ours with the kind of culture that we have. How easy is that to tackle it going forward?
Well, we need to advertise it a little bit more, like I was talking just now. What the PMO task force is doing is not so well known to everybody. At the school level, it's not so synchronized. We don't know. So advertising a little more on TV, in the newspapers, and giving it the place that it deserves, I think would bring about the change.
Well, we've launched a very extensive Khelo India program just to tap the grassroots program. So are schools aware of it? Are they participating in it, or does it?
You know,
I
the
think it's-
task force, as I was telling you earlier, has already engaged 24 states
Okay.
in a state level conference,
Discussion.
which is a part of the national dialogue that we have established, the task force. And in 24 states, we have on an average about 120 to 150 people participating in an 8-hour long meeting. Now you can imagine the kind of interest now, starting with the chief minister of the state, with the sports minister, sports secretary, education secretary, chief secretary, and the national associations or federations, and then we had sports colleges, we had school principals,
Okay.
we had Kendriya Vidyalaya, we had the former elite athletes who were who had done country honors, and we had the elite coaches. We had anybody and everybody who had anything to do with the sports sit in an 8-hour long meeting, and no holds barred, and we said, speak up, let's listen to you. And so therefore there is ample awareness about what the Olympic Task Force is doing. See, the whole idea is that we went against the normal belief that I know it all. We started by saying we don't know it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's learn it.
Yeah.
Because states are the principal actors, and that's where we need to go, and that's where all the stakeholders are.
Yeah.
So there is a fair amount of awareness amongst the sports people. Unfortunately, schools stand untouched by it, because see, in the elite schools, or let's say the schools in urban areas, the problem is of a different kind. The problem is that there's so much of pressure of academics. We don't allow class 11 and play to, we don't allow them to play. It's नहीं नहीं तुम्हारे लिए नहीं है, तुम पढ़ो, IIT में जाना है. There's so much of pressure on that, so sports are forsaken. In the suburban areas, and now you see another thing in the urban areas is schools don't even have a 400-meter track. If CBSE permits a school to come up,
Okay.
a 10+2 school to come up in 1 acre land, where is the space for children to breathe? Forget about the sports.
Yeah.
Now, in the urban areas, the problem is there is no physical education teacher in any of the primary schools anywhere in the country, exceptions apart.
Yeah.
There are no coaches, not to even speak of in the name of coaching. It doesn't exist. They don't even have the district sports officers.
Okay.
And the district sports officer, even where they have a district sports officer, it's a one-man
Not
army.
aware.
He doesn't have anything underneath. So the problems in the rural areas, and that is where
Your
the
talent
hunger
is.
is,
Absolutely.
and that is not being tapped. Now we need to go out. We are creating a mechanism in consultation and in conversation with the states, wherein we reach out for those 80% of the people who are waiting to happen.
We are given to understand that I'll come to you.
सर एक
और-
उसमें ये भी एक आया था कि जो हमारे स्मार्ट सिटी जो अभी बनने जा रहे हैं, डेवलप होने जा रहे हैं,
हाँ जी।
तो उसमें भी जो हमारा सुझाव जो इसमें लिखा है कि उसमें बहुत सारा एरिया कवर करके सिटी में, जो स्मार्ट सिटी में,
हाँ।
तो उसके में 100 एकड़ या 50 एकड़ लेकर उसमें डेवलप किया जाए, ताकि जो हमारे एक बहुत कंजस्टेड अभी सिटी बने हुए हैं उनको खेलने के लिए उनको ग्राउंड्स मिले और वहाँ पर जाना आना इजी हो, और जो लेटेस्ट उसमें जो फैसिलिटी हैं प्लेयर के लिए वो उस स्टेडियम में वो बनाई जाए.
Okay.
मिनिमम वो जो
Ashwini, I
है
think it's a good time to ask them about. We have given to understand that there's an interim report. Once a task force was put in place, an interim report has been submitted. बलदेव जी, आप इसके बारे में कोई जानकारी हमें देंगे? interim report में क्या क्या था?
इससे बहुत सारा
No, some
इतना
maybe
है,
two
कुछ
important takeaways.
In the
from-
important.
See, the important takeaway is one, that as you started off by saying, take the politics out of it. Let it be professionally driven. That's a principal takeaway. Second principal takeaway, which is now been in another another report, another what can I say, another side report that's been submitted, is the pooling of resources. Now states have enormous amount of resources. They're not terribly short. We could have more, but even whatever we have is enough for us to make a serious bid for 2020. So therefore there has to be pooling. Why should the railways, why should the services, why should the public sector, why should the states all play in silos? Why can we not have, for example, Bhopal has beautiful water sports. You know, there's a new shooting academy coming up in Bhopal. There are lovely shooting academies across the world. Why will we not pool in the resources and send the best team to one academy, one designated academy, have a 335-day long national camp?
So let's go back to Mukul, who's now, you know, bringing out so many academies, whether it's archery, whether it's football, now you have plans of hockey. You have two gentlemen here from the Prime Minister's task force. As a corporate entity who has, invested heavily on sport, who has also contributed by bringing in, churning out many sports person, what would you say would be the challenge from the corporate scenario, and how important is the public-private partnership?
I think it's very critical. I'll just take from what Mr. Pathak just said. I think we should leverage the strengths. For example, there are stakeholders, there's government, there's federation, there's private companies and many more who are involved. Government has the land, infrastructure, which the private companies might find it very difficult to invest in, which is ready. There could be administration and management which can come from the private sector, which has been good. We have leagues which have been running, which is more for the spectator sports, but still you have governance which can be better. And if you give somebody a target, if you give somebody a responsibility, I'm sure there will be lots of private companies apart from Tata's who would want to step in and support this. And I'm quite sure that every one of us has a patriot in him. Today, if you have to watch a India-Pakistan match, we all stand by India, and even otherwise whenever India is playing. So we have, for example, when Sindhu was playing, half of the country was watching her and cheering.
The entire country.
I'm saying in terms of television numbers, I'm just saying it from television numbers, but the entire country was cheering for her, and that's what it is all about. So when we say this, corporates are no exceptions. We can do it. So we can actually partner with the government and figure out. I'll just give an example of archery. There's something right that we are doing, and therefore there are out of 4, there are 3 archers who have actually been from. So actually, government can trust us with the archery responsibility, and we can take that as similarly other corporates can adopt sports and take it further.
That takes us to the next question. How easy or how difficult is it to have a private-public marriage? A private-public collaboration or partnership?
I don't think it should be difficult.
I think it's possible.
It's
possible, but
I think it's about
what are the challenges involved, if you could throw some light on the challenges that are there?
I don't really see much of challenges. It's about approaching, taking the private companies into confidence, maybe incentivizing them. It could be a tax incentive or something of sorts, which can be attractive for all the companies, and I'm sure they'll step in and do much more.
Fine. But what are the major challenges you have faced? You have been there with the academy for quite some time. You have the TFA, which is there since ages. You also have the archery, planning to bring in more. If you could actually put your finger on the top 2-3 challenges which you think you need to address, or which actually bug you. What are those?
As sir has mentioned, basically it's the synchronization. We have to collaborate and work together. It's like it's like a game of football. You have the strength. I know that I am the authority on the game. Somebody else has the funds. Somebody else actually signs the authorized to do the selection. And we all have a common goal. We all have to make champions. So we have to pass the ball. We have to keep moving. If we don't do that together, if we don't keep our aim and we hold the ball saying, no, I'm the authority, I'll hold the ball.
Teamwork is important.
Doesn't work. We are a team. We work together. We want the India team to be there.
Actually, एक और problem है infrastructure के बारे में. If you look at, say, for example, national games or any big event that comes to a city, comes to a locality, stadia is built, everything is made ready, and we promise to keep them in good shape post the event. But invariably, you see political parties rallies there, you see marriage functions, you see all kinds of things, and you make a mess of it in not more than 6 months, 1 year. It doesn't survive. So how do we put an end to these things? हम कैसे ये रोकेंगे?
I think what is important is when we build infrastructure, how well it is utilized by A, B, C, whichever the stakeholders is to promote sport, is crucial. It is not just about, it's not just about Delhi. We face the same thing in Karnataka. It's not just about generating revenue from what you have built, but generating medals, and how do we utilize it in the best possible way to do it. And I think that is what
usage.
From my personal
usage of
experience,
whatever-
I was a part of the National Games 2015, my home state Kerala. Stadium, some of them were really good, excellent facilities we had, but you go back and see, it's beyond recognition. It's not the same place which you saw back in 2015. So it's a very sad state of affairs as far as that is concerned. So
You know
how
what
do
you said earlier, collaboration is the only way to go. What Mukul was saying, it is absolutely possible. You need to structure it right. And I don't think government can do and should do everything.
Yeah.
You know, as citizens, we also have a national duty to perform. So in that sense, I think there has to be a mechanism which the task force is working on, because we have seen these facilities across the country.
Yeah.
In one of the facilities where we spent several hundreds of crores, the usage is 8%. And as you said earlier, so rightly, the state of maintenance and readiness is poor, in so much so that in one of the gymnasiums, a elite athlete was hurt and the shoulder dislocated, gone forever, just because that should have taken a few thousands of rupees to fix that.
That was
So
really
state
bad.
of maintenance,
Ashwini-
state of usage are very major issues.
Ashwini, both of us, I'm sure that she's in the same boat. We could go on till the breakfast
Yeah, because
tomorrow, but
this is a very
unfortunately,
interesting conversation
we
to
are
keep.
running short of time. So it's time for us to wind up the show, but not before taking 30-second closing comment from each one of you, including Ashwini.
Now, I think we'll start with the principal, Mr.
All right.
Datta.
Fair enough. I think we should all be doing our bit to promote sports, and schools have a big duty in this regard. I'm sure every child should play, firstly for health, and secondly to excel. With these two in mind, firstly when I talk of health, along with the academics, as holistic education is important, it goes hand in hand. It should go on with the studies. Every child should play. It should have its place of pride, the important place in the curriculum like we talked about. And then those who are identified should be supported by the school, by the state and the country to excel.
Absolutely clear there. Mukul?
Yes.
Just 3 months back, we are a country which launched 104 satellites. That's because we have been developing engineers, we have been producing engineers all this while, and that's why we could do that record.
Yeah.
It's not so difficult if you invest the same time, energies into sports and produce 104 medals. I don't see that as an impossible task in the coming years. It's just matter of time and investment and doing the right
Perfect.
thing.
I've been told that we have already overshot time, but Baldev ji, आप क्या कहना
मैं तो ये
चाहेंगे?
कहना चाहता हूँ कि जी गर्ल्स के ऊपर बिल्कुल जो ध्यान शायद अभी जितना मैं समझता उतना नहीं दिया जा रहा, तो इसके बाद भी हमारी जो लास्ट ओलंपिक है उसमें 2 हमारे मेडल, जो हमारी इज्जत बचाई है वो लड़कियों ने बचाई है, इसके ऊपर ज़्यादा इनके ऊपर ध्यान देना चाहिए। स्पोर्ट्स उनका जो ज़्यादा जॉब उसको मिलनी चाहिए, अपॉर्चुनिटी ज़्यादा स्पोर्ट्स में उनको वो देनी चाहिए गवर्नमेंट को। तो मेरा ख्याल में हमारा जो अगर गर्ल्स साथ चलेंगी तो आने वाला हमारा फ्यूचर जो है मेडल के एक बहुत करीब, बहुत सारे मेडल्स ओलंपिक में आने के चांसेस हैं।
जी बिल्कुल। पाठक जी?
With 127 crore people,
Yeah.
and in the next 5 years, I reckon that we should be able to see every single child in the country who is interested in sports to be able to play. Number one, that is, we create a very sustainable and a very structured search and nurture program to create a pipeline, and all our future champions are in schools today. It could be Jala Panchayat, it could be municipal, it could be a public school, it could be anywhere. Number two, we have to make some policy changes wherein sports is also treated as a subject.
Yes.
And evaluated.
Yeah.
So therefore, and people will then begin to play.
Yeah.
Because the boards don't recognize sports as a subject, so therefore there is the problem.
Absolutely. Ashwini?
Well, I think the entire conclave, the DD conclave, for the first time has brought many stakeholders from the sporting fraternity together. And there's been so much of learning, so much of interaction, and I hope that this conclave goes on in the future. And also from the task force, because this is the beginning of a new journey into sports, will actually highlight and bring about an awareness, a change, the much needed change that we are all looking at in the sports section. So thank you all very much for being here and participating in the conclave.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you all, and we are celebrating champions, we are celebrating Indian sport, and as we sign out, we celebrate yet another champion, the equestrian J.S. Ahluwalia. A small video on him.
In 1978 was my first competition, and 79 I was selected to go for the European Alpine Championships in 3-day eventing. I did very well, the best among the Indian riders, and I finished among the top European riders, something which even surprised me. I got into riding seriously when I realized that I couldn't really get into my engineering line now, and it was too late because my course mates had already gone ahead and I didn't want to be left behind. So I thought I might as well pursue this sport. In 1989 I got posted to NDS, the chief instructor in equitation, and that was a very interesting job. Also because I had been through the same academy as a cadet, and now I was training cadets out there. So I started on my own way of going about the whole thing. You have to build up the confidence in the horse that it's okay, we are going into it together, and the horse, once he has the trust and confidence in you, he is willing to do anything for you. Even if he is nervous or scared, but he says, okay, if my rider is not nervous or he's willing to go, I'm with him. And basically it's your confidence, and you have to play it cool. Because if you react or show your nervousness, then the horse is more nervous than you. The potential is there. We have a lot of juniors who are very good, and people are very keen, but they don't have the facilities, they don't have the encouragement, and they don't have enough number of competitions. And talent-wise, potential, no dearth of it.
This is DD Sports Headquarter in Delhi. You are watching DD Sports Conclave 2017.
So the top scheme this time, basically when we are looking at excellence in sports, we are looking at in different time frames. So we are looking at 2020, we are looking at 2024, and we are looking at 2028. 2020 approach is trying to make best of what we have got now. 2024 and 2028 look at a medium and long term perspective, where there is a huge emphasis on junior development and youth development. We are looking at the how to strengthen at the school level and at the university level, and for the elite athletes, how you can have a system which is at par with the best in the world. 2020 segment will focus on giving the best training and best competition exposure to your best athletes. We have to have a very strong junior development and youth development, for which you will have to have talent identification, and once you identify talent, you need to have a program to develop them. So there is one very ambitious program which is in the pipeline, where every year 1,000 young athletes would be chosen across disciplines, and they will be given an annual scholarship of 5 lakh rupees for 8 consecutive years, provided they meet the
benchmarks of how to what level the progression they make. So I think this is for the first time we'll be having a pan-Indian program where you will be giving an opportunity for a talented athlete to have a long-term athlete development plan. So I think this will play an important role in producing the podium finish athletes for 2024 and 2028. We have the Under 17 World Cup. I think the Prime Minister has repeatedly emphasized on how important it can be for child development and youth development, and under that overall initiative we have taken up a Mission 11 Million program where attempt is to reach out to 15,000 schools across the country and impact 11 million kids. Interest them in football, and also most importantly we are trying to engage with the parents and with the teachers who are actually the gatekeepers. They don't allow the child to go to the play field, so we are trying to make them more positively disposed. So I think this is a good program. Idea you come up with to have a sports conclave, and I think the sports department would be happy to be a partner, and it can be jointly done. It can be a regular feature, especially because there is sports medicine, there is sports science, there is sports technology, there are numerous economic opportunities. So all this can be discussed, and our potential to even attract foreign investment and even domestic investment is great. 2 to 4% of the GDP can come from these sports. So I think there again you will have to have a very broad base to be able to sustain a strong sports economy.